So Sanjay sir kept me hungry for a day, and I did it. I did it very happily because it really did help me. Hangry help.
Oh, you meant hungry actually, not like emotionally.
hungry.
You dive very deep into it. What you're getting
even
into.
you did.
I don't.
It looks, you feel like you
I
don't, but you did.
मैं इतना नहीं सोचती हूँ भाई. मैं
हाँ,
जाके
तुम्हें नहीं सोचना पड़ता है हम अभी भी ऐसे notes कर रहे perform.
So after Darlings, there was a season of romancing an elder woman. It just kept coming and I was like, guys.
Hello and welcome to the Hollywood Reporter India's streaming series Roundtable. I'm Suchin Mehrotra and this Roundtable is brought to you by Vedika Himalayan Spring Water and our space partner is G5A. Welcome to all of you. It is so wonderful to have you guys on the first ever Hollywood Reporter India streaming series Roundtable.
Thank you.
I've been saying for a few years now, and I'll keep saying it, that in the last few years, the finest storytelling, artistry, craft, and performances are all on streaming shows. And all of your work this year is a testament to just that. I'm going to dive straight in. If I was a fly on the wall, watching you guys prepare for these roles in the days and weeks leading up to the first day of shoot, what would I see you doing?
Stressing a lot.
What does that look like?
Ugly.
I'm quite the opposite actually. Yeah, you see me not stressing and then on set something just switches. I don't know how to explain it. It sounds very floozy, but it's not. I think my method is that I don't have a method and I like it that way, and that's how I've always been. And I don't like taking that added pressure on myself as an actor because then it just gives me the freedom to perform. So I think that's how I do it. So yeah.
So you're Zen.
I'm Zen, yeah. That's a nice way to put it.
We could all use some of that.
Yeah.
You're
It's
like
a nice
that
way
in
to
life.
be, yeah. In life, yeah, in general. So.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Ali, you said that you created different playlists for each character. So are you just like playing that before?
No, I mean for the projects I do, I suppose, trying to not keep myself like too bored. Yeah, it helps because I think it just gives me a nice BGM. I don't know, but these are just tags. I suppose all actors try and do different things. So
Yeah.
If it works, it works.
Aditi, what about you?
I think, I don't know, I try to just like take away all baggage and any kind of memory of anything and try to be as like clean and open to receive as I can, because I think it's in the not knowing that I feel the most comfortable. So yeah, I think to be open to receive, but just before I step onto set for the first day and getting that first shot right, I am like, I have elephant stomping in my stomach because you're like becoming somebody and you're inhabiting a world that's not yours, but you have to make it yours and make it seem effortlessly yours. So that first shot is like elephants, but once that first shot is okay, then I just breathe easy and then I just instinctively feel really happy and I feel like this is mine. So that's what it is for me. But I don't know, there's no method. There's just
Do you guys
open slate.
ever have that moment where a few weeks into shoot, you're like, I think I know who this person is now. Can I start again?
I think for me it only happens when I see that happy glint in the director's eye. Till then, I don't know. It's I'm swimming in a sea not knowing where I'm going. That's what I rely on, that look for me.
Anjali?
Yeah, like she said, like I don't know where I am, what I'm doing until I'm on set in the character with the people I'm supposed to be with, in the space I'm in. I think a lot of those things, like I was talking to you about the audition part, that I don't know anything when the auditions are happening or when I'm reading it. But when I'm in that space, in that actual space where I'm supposed to be in costume with my co-actor, with the director, like she said, like once I finish a shot, in the shot I have no idea what I'm doing. Once I'm done with the shot, I look at the director. He's happy, I'm done. So I think, like she said, no method. There's no method. Unless I reach set, I don't know what I'm doing. Unless he says rolling, I don't know what I'm doing. So once I'm there, I'm the happiest on set. I love when I hear rolling. I'm like, now I can do what I want. And then after that, once it's cut, I'm like, director, good, we're sorted. I think that's all there is. There is nothing else that I do extra or whatever. Yeah, unless I'm like going to perform on stage and all, I'm listening to Sari Duniya Jala Denge and all that. But on set, I'm like, yeah, just, and I hear rolling and I'm sorted. I'm good.
I think with every actor, it's a very personal
Yeah.
relationship with the camera
Yeah.
and how they feel when they're in front of it. So I think everybody has a different
And it's
way.
quite tough to
Yeah.
talk about it because sometimes it's such an instinctive and intuitive process that how do you put it
You
into
don't
words?
know.
How do you
You
describe
don't
it?
know. There is
Yeah.
no.
And I
nothing
think
you
the
can-
most beautiful thing about it is there's a lack of self-consciousness. So I think with all of us, right? Or at least that's what I feel. And you want to keep it, like I protect that very, very fiercely. Like I don't want to have any kind of baggage or any kind of knowing. So that only happens with just being free.
It sounds very freeing, like you said.
Yeah.
And just coming to the specific projects and performances we're here to celebrate, was there a specific scene for these shows which really kept you up at night? Where, before which you thought, how the hell am I going to pull this off?
Should I go first? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. For me, it was my 2 mujras. I have grown up dancing since I was little, but it's a very different dance form that I learned. I learned Bharatanatyam. This was Kathak, and it was Kathak through the eyes of Sanjay Leela Bansali, who is a perfectionist max, and also knows a lot. And it's about, just getting it right and not disappointing him. And also being true to what it is that you're doing. So that really gave me sleepless nights. And I think the scenes where I had to give rousing speeches, I mean, because I don't think that comes very naturally to me. So I really had to so Sanjay sir kept me hungry for a day, and I did it. I did it very happily because it really did help me. Hangry helped.
Oh, you
So,
meant hungry actually, not like
Yeah,
emotionally. Okay.
he said, because I was really struggling, and he was like, now she's going to start a love scene. When I have to, she needs to do a rousing scene, it's going to look like a Shringar scene. Go, don't eat. I said, okay, done, I'm not eating. So yeah, those were the 2 things.
That's intense.
No, I was very happy. I thanked him so much. I was like, this is the best. Thank you.
Things
so
we
much.
do for our art. What about the rest of you? Was there a specific scene that really kept you up?
There has literally not been any scene that has kept me up at night in the last 14 years that I've been working. I don't know, I just look forward
Can
to
I
going.
take some of your confidence?
No, it's not about the confidence, it's something
I have
that-
seen this firsthand.
something
That
that
sounds
I
amazing.
look forward to doing, and it's an excitement. It's not like, stress, or it's not like, oh my god, how am I going to do this? I know I'm going to do it. Once I'm there, I know I'm going to do it. The camera is like a gun to my head, and my biggest fear ever in life is a bad performance. Like, I don't want to make a fool of myself. So I think that is what drives me, and I know that somehow when I land up there, I will do it.
That's lovely.
No worries. So the only thing that happened to me on the sets of Heeramandi was that I found out that the song that I did, the Lasmi Bahe, was going to be a one shot while I was on set.
Oh, God.
That is the only thing I think in the entire
I was
in my
gonna ask
entire
you about
career that shook me up a little. But then again, we just rehearsed there for like 20-30 minutes, and then we went and did it. So
Yeah.
it was just like, again, the fear of a bad performance. I was like, now he's given me this task. I just have to wing it. I have to do it somehow, by hook or by crook.
And I think some of us just
Yeah.
work under pressure, right? I don't
Yeah.
know.
And there's always pressure on
Oh,
set. Some or the
yeah,
other
yeah.
pressure.
That's what I'm saying.
You
Like
have
as an
no
actor,
time or
yeah.
something else is happening. There's always pressure.
It's
And
like
that's
the
fun
yeah,
also.
it's
So
like
you
you're
just
being challenged.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
jump off a cliff or
Yeah, we don't
forget
have
it.
time,
Yeah,
light is
sink or
going,
swim.
someone's not well, someone's
Yeah.
late, someone has to leave. Always something or the other is always there. So we are always under pressure. But that's exciting, no? It's always keeping
Yeah,
you
it's
on your
very
toes.
exciting, yeah.
And now what's going to happen today? Let's go find out. It's
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Every day is a new
Adventure.
Roshan, what about you? Was there a
Yeah.
specific scene that...
Lots, actually, many scenes. Because Poacher was also the first series that I shot. So there's suddenly like so much in the script, right? And like because of what a series can, the sort of like timeline that it can provide, there's a lot for each character to do. So what happened for me was that there were a lot of scenes which I built up in my head, which I thought these are the highlight scenes for my character. And then I turn up on set, and with the way Richie shoots, those are not the scenes which are actually the stressful ones, or the ones where you have to do a lot of work, or even the ones where you have a lot of fun. I got used to that after we started shooting, because he goes for a lot of single long shots, So there are many scenes where you're just sort of in the background, but the camera's dancing through the space, and you have to figure out what your character is doing at every point in time, because you could get caught in frame, and you have to be there living that moment. So I ended up having a lot of fun with those scenes, and some of those were scenes where I didn't have like anything to say, no substantial action that had to be performed by me, but just sort of exist in that space, in that in the reality of that moment. And it's so true what what was just said about all of this noise that runs up in the run up to the shot. All this noise in your head just suddenly quietens down, which even happened here now as we started shooting this. Then there's this like one moment of clarity, and you know that it's just you and that one moment, and you get it or not. So I really thrive on that actually. Until then, I'm stressing a lot.
Poacher has some truly wonderful scenes, which I do want to pick your brain on. But Ali, coming to you, any specific scenes with Mirzapur where you thought, how the hell am I going to do this?
You're so good in Poacher.
You're so good in Mirzapur.
So good. Such a wonderful show.
Very much so.
I mean, I love Richie. I think
Thank
he's
you so much. I mean,
banging,
for
man.
Richie as well.
Yeah, he's a cool cat. No, I remember the scene from this film I did called Khufia. Vishal ji directed. बड़ा अजीब सा scene था. It was I come home and in the garage there's a tube light, and while there's a reflection there's a pot of water नीचे tasla. So in that I see the tube light, and I see the camera in the tube light. So now I have to look up to the tube light and or something like that, and I look it and I notice it there, correct. While looking at the tube light, because tube light I'm trying to fix it. So the camera is on my face, and I have to pretend that I can't see it, but also having seen it and phatod. Pardon my French, but really scared.
The camera being very close to you is actually very Poacher-esque. It goes so close to some of your faces, it's almost scary.
I
It
love
breathes.
it.
Yeah.
Like
It's
another
my fave.
Yeah.
like another person who shoots like that is Tasadduk. He usually used to do, I think, Vishalji's old films, not this one. But Poacher had that similar hand, like the camera work, where he's
He
breathing with
breathes,
you,
yeah,
Yeah.
he breathes.
Yeah.
with the actors.
Yeah.
And when you match that, you reach another maza aata hai. Yeah.
Richie
You really
used to
feel like you're
keep,
going into their minds.
Yeah,
It's
and
fun.
vice
Fun.
versa, the other way around as well. I'm sure, like,
Yeah.
for
Richie used to
actors
keep asking Johan to pull back from the actors.
Yeah.
Because any moment he starts leaning. I'm protected a bit because of the size of my nose. He'd go really close enough, as close as he can get.
I love that.
That show is excellent. Anjali, what about you? Was there a specific scene that really kept you up where you thought,
There is no scene like that. I'm always just excited to go on set and do whatever I have to do the next day. So there's no, for me, smallest scene, biggest scene, it's all the same. Like,
अरे night shoot?
नहीं मुझे और मजा आता है.
Night shoot
Night shoot. I am anyway Raat Rani, so I love being up at night. So it's like nothing special for me to be up. I know people hate night shoots, but there's no specific scene that, oh my god, how will I do it? Because I know, like in this show specifically, you had Sumit Vyas. I mean, not a dull moment you have around that man. He says hi and you end up laughing. He's amazing. And the way he's directed it was like it was his first time, and it did not look like that. Barun and I had a conversation on the second day of shoot. Like, isn't he the best director you've ever worked with? I said, I was thinking the same. Like, what is he doing? Like, he's so good, and it was just beautiful. He was just like too good.
that wonderful energy really comes across
Oh,
in the
really
show?
does.
We also have to now come to the beast of Heeramandi. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. Heeramandi was the only and probably first ever Indian show to make it to the top 100 most watched titles on Netflix globally in the
Yay.
first half of this year, with 14.8 million views,
Whoa.
which is a lot of million. Not a bad year. Aditi, I want to start with Bibojan. For me, she is really the unsung hero of that show. Your character really bridges the various worlds of the show together. The freedom struggle as well as sort of the life of the Tawaiffs. And I thought it was so interesting because, you're known for the vulnerability and sensitivity. You bring your characters, but here you're almost weaponizing that vulnerability. You're playing someone who's sort of underestimated, you're seeing as this pretty performer. And the way you use that to extract information is such a joy to watch. So what went into sort of playing that duality with her? Because she's almost wearing a mask. Till the last episode, she's projecting a very different person to her family and those around her. And it's only at the end where she really you see what's beneath, which is just so much rage and determination and purpose. So what was it like playing with that?
I think what really drew me to who she is and what that life is that there is not 1% of what's the word for it? There's not 1% of this chalkapat in her. I don't know what deception. She's not deceiving anybody.
Insincerity.
Yeah, she's really sincere, and anything that she does comes from there. So even her use of her her physicality or whatever it is so driven towards that purpose that she is so focused on. I thought that was what was really wonderful about this character. Also that it was so wholesome in the life that she lives in, all that she kind of goes through, whether it's being the good loyal daughter or the good sister or just a kind person or all of it, but at the same time that kind of fire. So like I always say, she's fire and grace, and I think that's what really makes her very sort of it connected to me. But the thing is, for me it was also very exciting because the character developed as we were working on it. I'm sure Sanjay sir had it clearly in his mind, but what is written on paper actually really comes to life when we get to set. So for me also to live out that life and to live out that life with all those nuances, but keeping that core so clean and pure, that was actually very exciting for me, because it's very easy to get, as a dancer I've learned this, that you're the observer and the partaker, but in this it's like almost like you're placed in the middle of it all, where everything is happening around you, but you are so like, I don't know, it was very interesting to play something like this, and but also to have a director who has that kind of vision for a character like this and who sees the purity of the essence of it in anything that is happening, but you always go back to where it's, I think, and that's what makes her connect and have this kind of almost heroic life that she does, and that's maybe why it connected the way that it did. I don't know. Again, I was just lucky to be in that place, and it worked in the way it did, and I, at the risk of sounding immodest, also felt it when I saw it. That it really sort of just holds you.
Because that is the arc of sort of heroism and sacrifice, and I love that idea of fire.
But without being like, without feeling sorry for herself. She's so there's so much dignity in what it is and so much belief. So there's no like bichari.
Yeah.
It's really like there's a lot of agency and purpose.
But she's playing with that.
But yeah, at the same time, love and vulnerability. Yeah, I love those nuances. But it was done for me.
Yeah.
So I just had, like I said, I just had to surrender and go with it.
It worked.
Thank God.
And Sonakshi, just coming to Faridan, it really is one of the most enjoyable performances and characters of the year.
Thank you.
It's just such a joy to watch her manipulate, instigate, create those fireworks everywhere. Where did she come from? Because, we've not seen you like that before. So where did you find the fire of Faridan?
What excited me the most was that I've never played a character like that who's so bloody twisted and like she's crazy, and the fact that she's someone who's so complex, who's just trying to rile things up the entire time, and then kind of the way her arc goes through the entire series. And in fact, I don't think many people know this, but Faridan's role was not as fleshed out as what you saw eventually in the series. So I think Sanjay sir kind of started working with me on the character, started fleshing her out throughout, and then it became what it became. And I'm so glad it became what it became, because it was not what I signed up for. It just got better. And for me as an actor, I reached a point just before the Haar where
you were also excellent.
Thank you so much. Where I was fried because I was being offered the same kind of roles. I was being offered the same kind of films. I was being offered the same things that were not exciting me in any way. And then the Haar came along, and then when this came along, I was like, oh my God, yes, this is something that needs to be done, and something that I got really excited about. So I think that's what really drove me. And Faridan had emotions that are the so-called not so nice emotions. They're the bad emotions, like jealousy, anger, rage. I mean, like everything that's bad for you. And to bring those out on screen was so satisfying for me as an actor because I'm not even that person. Like, I'm not Farida.
That's good to know.
You know, yeah. So I'm not that person, and just to be someone else, be someone who's so unlike you, is a challenge in itself. And I'm always up for challenges. So I really enjoyed myself. I had a blast.
You could tell, and it really brought a much needed sort of sense of crackling energy. And I loved sort of her industrial sized attitude. It really brought that show to life. And
Thank
even how
you.
you then sort of play with her more human side. That, you know,
Yeah.
beneath all of the swag, she really is just someone who's looking for connection and acceptance.
But that's what I love about all of Sanjay Sir's characters and the way he portrays his women. There's a backstory, right? You feel for her because you know that her mother was like this. What she sold her off when she was a child. What she must have gone through in her childhood. The amount of men she had to go through to reach a phase where she absolutely loathes them, and she's become who she's become. So it's all explained. And even when, like, he was telling me about it, I was like, this is not a character just for the sake of being a bad character. She has her reasons. Oh my God, I feel for her.
Yeah.
So I love that about it.
But it was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And it was just such a joy to watch you have a blast with that role. You know, you could tell. Ali, just coming to you, I'm just going to list a couple of highlights of your year and just tell me if I'm missing anything. The excellent Girls Will Be Girls, the first film from your production house with Richa, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival.
Thank you.
And has since got rave reviews in the global festival circuit. It's also one of the most gut punch films I've seen all year, and I'm not just saying
Where did
that.
you see it?
Mami.
Are
And
Wow.
very few films have hit me like
Ali,
that
you
one.
said you're showing.
Yes, we are. We almost there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do a
This
screening
month?
after this?
Yeah. We're gonna call everybody.
I'm fully up for screening after
You guys will end up.
No, it really is a hell of an achievement.
Thank you.
You were part of a secret Baz Luhrmann directed photo shoot alongside Blake Lively and Hugh Jackman. I don't know what a secret photo shoot is, but it sounds very interesting.
Yeah, we
you
did it
also
for-
launched your own fashion label? if I'm
Oh
not wrong.
God, yeah. It's just, you know.
I was
things-
one of the first patrons.
Yes.
You also completed an indie film called Afghan Dreamers, directed by Oscar-winning Bill Gutentag. You are currently, by which I mean today, shooting Mani Ratnam's Thug Life.
Yeah, I just wrapped. Thank you.
And you, of course, became a father. Congratulations. Am I missing anything?
Mirzapur.
Good job. Good job, bhaiya.
I'm coming to that.
No man, that's sweet. Yeah.
It's been a hell of a
I
year.
could just walk out. And
I have goosebumps.
Fantastic,
what a
yeah,
year.
man.
Drop mic.
Um,
But no, you know, just in terms of all things Mirzapur and Guddu, I have to say, you know, the third season of the show was not the finest, you know, but I really thought it was your finest work. I really, you know, what you did with Guddu, I love how you take us into his head. And I found it very interesting that there are very few Indian shows I can think of where the characters really evolved season after season, you know. Your sort of Guddu's graph, each season is very distinct and different. And this season is very interesting because he's finally got his revenge. He's finally got everything he wanted. He's on the throne. He has this sort of restless energy. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He's lost in his own legend. He's like a dog sort of chasing his own tail. So what were the kind of conversations you had, you know, in terms of where you wanted to take him this season, and also how far you could go while still ensuring that we're rooting for him?
oh God, that's the hardest. It's. I mean, you got to do a deep dive on that because it's third season. You know, you are at the top of it. The characters, you know, he's there, and it's. I had to take him into a very lonely place, where he just lives with all these all. I see dead people. You know, that kind of stuff. But I had fun with it. I mean, I would obviously play it out with my director, and sort of, because you come up with so many choices in that moment. Like the jail sequence is probably one sequence that kept me up because you know, the choreographies, and it's a very vulnerable man at the end of the day because it's all anger and, you know, alpha and whatever, but it's just, they're still boys, you know, they're still, season 1 was college time.
Yeah.
So it's, you can't suddenly jump into, like, you know, brooding, whatever. There's an innocence that you have to just desperately latch onto. And as the seasons go further and further, like the narrative takes you away from that innocence. So I suppose short answer is that it was my jaddojahed to hold on to that innocence. Every point of the thing, because he's losing his mind, he's you know, just getting deterioration. It's a systematic deterioration of this man and his mind, and with power, I suppose it just goes all bonkers.
Which is what I loved about your performance. Even when he's on top, you never let us forget how broken he is. And I did want to ask you about the jail sequence. The action scenes in this season.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that
More hand combats this time.
but also more exciting than most action heroes I've seen on the big screen this year. There's obviously the wrestling sort of competition scene in the second episode. But I did want to ask you about the jail sequence specifically because they say that great action scenes tell a story. And it's not fun violence. It's not sort of masala. It's not swag. It's very difficult to watch. It's very uncomfortable violence.
It is.
And the physicality you bring to that is immense. And there's one part where you break down and suddenly in this bloody action scene, you almost tear up feeling for him.
Yeah, that was actually Guru all the way. That was his choice. He came right at the end of it, and I didn't know where to take it, and it sort of did a whole cycle from season 1 where that dialogue became so famous, that maza aa raha hai, and right at the end of that sequence, he just breaks down because it's like, now what, it's just endless violence and how much can you push the adrenaline, and somewhere it breaks, and I don't think we talk about like men breaking, and because we're always up with our bravados and all of that. But yeah, that was a good choice, I think.
Speaking of how far you can take it, I've been very patient, but I have to ask you about the Mirzapur movie.
Oh yeah, man,
Please.
we just announced.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
What can you tell us?
Yes, please.
Oh,
That's why we all turned up today.
Yeah, that's a very big movie. That's why I'm
That's the
here.
agenda.
No, I think we're very excited. Yeah.
So
it's the OG cast. We're going
Yeah.
back on the table and
And back in time?
What fun.
I suppose if
Are you allowed to say?
it has to be back in time because there are like some dead people walking.
So Mirzapur prequel.
You'll find out. But I mean, we're really excited to bring it to the theaters. I think like Peaky Blinders just did that, so I think it wasn't like a one-off or an odd choice of move. Yeah.
It really speaks to the sort of insane fandom of that show. That the idea of watching on the big screen is such an exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so
So I
very
think
cool.
let's hope.
And just switching tracks to something less violent, more lovely and life affirming, we have to talk about Raat Jawaan Hai. It is
Complete opposite.
the most huggable show this year. It is so warm and wonderful. It just is the show about love and life. It's about, of course, 3 friends and just how they're navigating parenthood and marriage. I really wanted to talk to you about the art of crafting chemistry because that entire show requires us to fall in love with the 3 of you. Your marriage as well, which is wonderful. Your relationship with the actors who play your kids, very young kids. So what goes into sort of building that? Because it's a show where it's not really characters. These are all people.
Yeah.
And we really feel for all of those connections. So how do you bring that to life?
I think when Kathy wrote this show, it was all her. Everything. I think if you know her and if you see her humor, the way she operates life, I think it's all her. And when she told Sumit about the show, she wanted Sumit to play Avinash, and then he said, "No, I want to direct the show because he loves all the characters." He's like, "I love this," and everybody was just pulled. It had a gravitational force, this show, and luckily someone from Sony said my name, someone from Sony said Barun's name, someone said Priya, so she wrote it with Priya in mind. But me as a person, I get really excited about Guddu Bhaiya. I want to play Guddu Bhaiya.
Raat is not that different.
Yeah, actually. But this show is like, when I read the, she thought I've read the whole thing. I just read the first episode. Yeah, hi Kathy. I read the first episode and I said yes. Because the way it was written, it was so real. We didn't have to add anything to it. We didn't have to do anything at all. And the best thing they did about the show was that they had a vibe check with each of us, which we didn't know. So they met all of us separately. The producer, director and writer just called us for like a chill, just meet us. They saw auditions and they loved everything about it. And then they said, let's meet. And then they did a vibe check with all 3 of us.
Wait, what? Huh?
Like a vibe check.
Very cool.
What is the vibe check?
I like
So
it.
they basically met us separately just to see if we're like those, if we're going to be a problem on set. Because the show needed love. It's like the greenest flag. The show is like a green forest. So we call it like a green flag show. Wow. Everybody, every character and everybody on set was a green flag. And like all our relationships with our husbands and spouses, it's like the relationship that I have with Priyansh on the show, I hope I had that with somebody in real life.
It's so
because
wonderful.
they are best friends. And you can see that. And you can see how she just breaks down. However Guddu Bhaiya Raj is, she breaks down when she's with him. He just melts her. Anything he says, she's like, yaar. She's like, why do you even speak in front of me? Go away. So yeah, I think the vibe check really helped. They met all of us to see if we're like gelling, and I think the first day we were there.
But Sumit is fun to work with,
Sumit
no?
is so much fun to work with. So much fun.
I
I'm
think
so glad he didn't play Avi, by the way. No offense to him, but I'm totally born for that.
Because he just knew, and with each of us, he's properly sat down with each of us, and he's made sure that all three of us don't look similar in any way, because we're not supposed to be like that. You know, sometimes when friends are together, you just get carried away and ki, tu bhi bolte, tu bhi joke bolte. No, he knew where someone had to be quiet. He knew where, you know, where Anavi had to give like an uncomfortable, a line. He knew when Raj had to be all fiery and then be like, क्या झगड़ा किया यार मैंने तुझसे आज मजा आ गया. You know, it's like that. So he just very, very, very carefully it was art what he did. I think it was amazing. I'm sure nobody has seen it. Please watch it.
No,
I've
actually, I haven't
watched
seen it, but I've heard
we will,
wonderful
for
things
sure.
about
It
it.
sounds
Please,
amazing.
It needs more audiences to watch it, and because of Suchin, I'm here, and I'm very happy that the show
No,
is
it
going to
was-
get some more
It
audiences.
was absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. It's we need more huggable shows. Also, what I loved about it is it's very easy to make a very well packaged show that's very cutesy and wonderful, but it's more than
Real.
that. There's so much life
Yeah.
within
But
that.
also showing real human
Yeah, real,
relationships
yeah.
and emotions is not easy
And
at all.
to engage people with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because there's so much emotion, there's so much drama, but you'll not feel like it's gone overboard. It'll not cringe you out. There is a lot of
They're very human conflicts.
yeah, and there's a lot of gali galocha.
We don't
That's a
mind.
selling point. You're trying to sell the show.
No, but I'm
The
saying
Mirzapur audience should tune in.
no, because people are sitting with their families and I'm telling them, listen, I know it's a very cute, huggable show, but I'm giving you MCBC everything in the show.
There is a sex toy episode.
There's a sex toy episode. There's a lot of, but it's real. It's how we talk to our
Exactly.
friends every day.
Yeah, that's where it
it's-
becomes relatable.
Yeah, how will you feel like if you just saw a dildo in one of your parents, cupboard? It's like that. Now, how will you talk to your friends? You'll be like that, right? So it's very real, and I think that's what some people are. The language is what people are relating to.
Connecting with.
Yeah.
If that doesn't sell the show, I don't know what will. But it is very much an achievement. You should be very proud of it. Roshan, just coming to Poacher, it really is one of the most hauntingly powerful dramas this year, and it's obviously packaged as this very tight investigative thriller. I really wanted to ask you, it really made me think of the idea of everyday heroism. Your character and Namisha's, these are not people with sort of grand gestures or takedowns. It really is a never-ending set of uphill battles. There are more losses than wins.
Yeah.
So what was it like? And you're playing a real person.
Yeah.
So what was it like bringing him to life? Because unlike Nimisha's character, who's pure rage, and she's phenomenal in the show as well,
Yeah.
yours is a much more gentle determination. You
Yeah.
know? Alan is really, it's almost like he's not lost faith in humanity yet.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
was it like bringing him to life?
I think that was for me the most exciting part about doing this. The first time I met the actual person who Alan's based on, and when Richie pitched the show to me, when I read the script, it was always about finding the reason for why he does this. Because if you look at Nimisha, she's got that past, so she's basically going for revenge in a way, and it is her job. You look at Alan, it's not his job to do this. He knows it's a losing battle. He knows there's no rewards at the end of it that he'll get. There's no glory. So then what is the reason? So that's what I was looking for when I spoke to Richie, when I read the script, and then when I met this man. And I got a few hints out of the conversations that I had with him. And I had, many long conversations. I was trying to spend as much time as I could with him, not to, sort of learn how to become him superficially, but just to sort of like, try and search for what is this reason inside, what pushes you
What
to
drives
do this, you started off wanting to become an engineer or something. How did you end up here? And then I found what I thought were convincing reasons, and then I took them straight to Richie and I told him, this is what I found. Is this okay for you? Can I work with this? And he said, yeah, that's interesting. Why don't you try it out? So for me, the whole show, even while we were shooting it, was just sort of like this trying out of, okay, is this right? Does this fit in with, every action he takes, every decision that he makes, the way he reacts to a situation, does it all fit in with the reasons that I found? And it was very exciting because it's also, like I said, the longest shoot I had been part of at that point. And every day it's sort of like a test of, because this is not written down on paper. This is not director approved. My director is supporting me in this search. And we were just very happy to find out that it worked. And I've never, discussed with Jose, the man that Alan's based on, what these reasons are. I've never tried to cross-check or verify with him whether that's what pushes him to do this. With Richie, obviously, like I have. And it sort of worked out for us. And that's, even what we were talking about, Ali's character in Mirzapur and all, how unrecognizable this guy is in the third season compared to what you see in the first season. It's very nice to experience that in sort of a series. I felt like I was living with this idea of a character, and I'm taking it to test every day, and I'm coming out, okay, like today is done and this thing hasn't broken yet. Now I take it back the next day and see if it breaks, So I'm just waiting to do more of to play Alan again and like do more of Poacher.
But,
I don't know yet if
like,
it's
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's always a part of you that goes into it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do your morals ever come in the middle? Let's say there's a choice that you would, like Roshan would not make.
Yeah.
And you've prepped this entire thing, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like, you're like, nee, but like I would not make this choice.
Yeah.
But now I'm making the decision to make this choice as this character.
Yeah.
Do these two affect the final outcome?
Why
I mean, or does that bother you, or is it like it's part of it, right?
Alan is a very
It's-
good guy also.
Alan's a very nice guy. I mean, like I'd be very happy if I aligned with him morally as well.
I'd love to do it with this character.
No, I mean to everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm sure all your characters, right? Like at some point you're like, am I becoming that character? Am I putting myself into it? How much of me? How much of that? That ganit you do, is it a natural thing? Like, okay, organically, because it's also a screenplay, right? Like you got to give it and submit, like Aditi said.
Like if you humanize it, you find a reason, like he said, of
Yeah.
like how.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a bio, like a real person, I
Yeah.
suppose
Yeah.
you have उसपे ज़्यादा आपको
Like she said, you can't just be
तवज्जो
wicked for
देनी
no
पड़ती है.
reason, right?
Yeah.
That's what, no, and
I
also
think
like
we
if
find
you're
our
Guru Bhaiya and you're
reasons.
killing people, you can't put yourself into that.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, it's,
Exactly.
Is there a
But when
when
you-
it's not washed out yet? Should we be concerned?
No, it's the habits, like not the killing. Sorry. No, but like the crutches, the
Yeah,
thing, like I screwed up my shoulder, my walk, my posture. Those things take time, so 6 months, a year sometimes. I'm still living with some injuries, but otherwise I'm sure like
Yeah.
we all get out.
No, it's always
Itna
the
nahi,
physical
itna.
things that stay back. No.
Yeah.
The body remembers more
Body
than
remembers.
I think
Yeah,
the mind
exactly.
does. But when you do say these like horrible acts, or objectively horrible acts, as the character when you're performing, it's fully justified in your head, right?
Yeah.
Unless
Because
it's
otherwise
an
you
actor,
can't do
right?
it.
Yeah,
Play
otherwise-
different characters.
Yeah.
I
Or
think
there's
for that
regret.
short
For the
time
character.
when
Yeah.
Depends.
between action and cut, you really believe that.
Yeah.
But moment cut happens, you're back to
Yeah.
whatever, eating muruku on set.
Yeah, but then there's also a moment in between the shot where you know where the camera is. I mean, we're all
Yeah.
bloody smart people,
Of
right?
course.
We know exactly where we're stepping.
Preferably
We know- Yeah.
But I have to say, with you, I did find myself judging myself when I was watching Mirzapur because
Why
I was
are you judging yourself?
because I was like, there's nothing you can do when I'm not rooting for you, and you do some not nice things, and I was like, you can do whatever you want. I'm still gonna root for
Actually,
you.
That's
that
dangerous.
non-redemption scene. There's one scene which just like I had a 5-hour long debate with my director. I said, please don't put me in that. Like that is just wrong. That's like there's no coming back from that.
अच्छी
So-
तुम्हारा audience को morals नहीं है तो फिर तुम क्यों रखोगे morals?
I'm completely.
But I'm like a softie.
Because I
This stuff
love
is wrong.
first season Guddu, the college Guddu. I love him. He's like this giant person with his shoulders down, and he's like, "हाँ भैया मैं करूँगा भैया." And now he's like, I always go back to that Guddu whenever I see him do vicious stuff. Also,
I mean, I just love
Because-
watching like what is happening in your heads while you're delivering and while you're in that space. बड़ा मजा आता है, when there's no dialogue.
best.
कि आप सुन रहे हैं.
I have another question because I've had similar experiences.
please.
Sorry.
Take my time. No?
Sorry.
They can just cut me out in post.
Sorry, I'll make it very quick. So when you had this like 4-hour-long debate discussion argument with the director, if you're not fully convinced by the answers that you're getting, do you find it difficult to go in and do the?
That's why it was 4 hours.
It was because I felt it was not needed.
Right.
So मुझे लगा वो that was my idea that
Yeah.
my part of the debate, right?
Right.
Like I was like, no, you don't need this. This is not required in the, and then.
But
you
was
know,
it added later?
No, it was there, but
So that's what, like, my thinking is that now as an actor, I've read the script. I know what exactly I'm getting into. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, my job is to execute my director's vision.
Yeah, correct.
Or if you have any concerns, you talk
no,
about
but,
Yeah,
it.
and
but
family
Sonakshi,
concerns?
the choices changed after that event as a performer because of that.
But that's also, again, each to their own, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, of
But
course.
I'm sure even
yeah.
if it's written
like, from
for
what
you,
I'm seeing, you dive very deep into it. What you're
so
getting
even
into.
you did.
I don't.
it looks, you feel like you
I don't.
but you did.
मैं इतना नहीं सोचती हूँ भाई, मैं
हाँ,
जाके
तुम्हें नहीं सोचना पड़ता है, हम लगे हुए ऐसे ही नोट्स कर रहे परफॉर्म Sonakshi like waltzing
आज क्या करना है आप बताओ. So हम नहीं सोचते इतना यार.
This is the point of the conversation.
मतलब ये एक वो
It
है.
becomes therapy. You said something in an interview which I thought was very interesting. You said for Poacher, you said that the first scene you shot was actually the last scene of the show.
Yeah.
So you're sort of having to capture that entire emotional experience your character is going through.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask all of you, is that the toughest part of shooting a series where you're constantly having to recalculate if you're shooting it out of order, that, okay, today's, episode 3, where am I on the journey of this character? How do I relate to the other characters? Emotional continuity and all that. Is that the toughest part?
One of the toughest things for me, for sure, because Poacher specifically happens in a timeline that's actually shorter than the duration of shoot was. So it was very important to keep track of what all have we found so far.
In that hour.
Yeah. So what leads have we followed and where have we gotten? Like you said, what is my equation with these people right now? What all experiences have we been through? So I sort of like made my own, I couldn't, it wasn't practical to go back and read this. Initially, my approach with films generally is, you read everything up to that scene if you haven't shot many of the key scenes until that point. So you get like a refresher. So this is what I've been through, or you at least like read the scenes at your end. So you know what your character has seen until that point. With Poacher, there was just too much information. So I'd write it down. And like Ali said, I used to just, hold on, I'm just, did you give me 2 minutes? But after a while, I think, like we initially discussed this, that like one moment of clarity you maybe have after which you feel like going back and redoing everything you did with that character. Once a few of those happen, then you feel like, no, I like, my instincts will tell me. And we've done this enough right now. So now I can just trust and leap into it. So that, it was one of the challenging things, but fun.
Is that ever a challenge for any of you to like sort of constantly recalculate where you are, or are you shooting linearly and life is easy?
No,
we're not
actually,
shooting linear
I've
at
always
all.
shot non-linear.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
non-linear.
ever
I
linear.
mean, my
for me.
first film was Dabang, and like things were happening that I just landed up on set, and that's when I actually learned everything. So like everything that should not be happening was happening on that set. So I kind of just, my brain is wired in a way where you can just throw anything at me.
Hell of a film school, I imagine.
Yeah, it is, actually is. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way because I can take on anything at
But
this
even I
point
enjoy
right
this.
now.
Yeah. I've shot the climax of a
Yeah.
film before shooting everything else.
Yeah.
Manisa's film, I did the most difficult scenes before I got to the like slightly more chill scenes with like
Yeah.
big dialogues and like. So, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's best
It's fun.
to just be thrown at
Dive
the
in the
deep end
deep
of
end.
a pool
And
and
learn
then
to
you,
swim,
because
yeah.
that's when you really feel like, okay, this is home.
Yeah.
This is home. This
Yeah.
is, it really feels amazing. But then it is also about the maker and the visionary and the surrender and the, that whole relationship.
Yeah, and
which
I think
is,
that's where having a really
Yeah.
good director comes in, where
Yeah.
who can really bring you back into that moment, no matter at what point it is in the script.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just really helps to have a good director. Yeah.
And like when we read everything that we're given in the beginning, I have this whole movie already in my head that this is what I'm doing, and today I'm starting from here. Okay, so I'm good. Throw me in any scene.
Also,
I'm
it's that feeling of you hang upside down in a jungle gym. You're a kid in a park.
yeah. It
If you fall, when you have an incredible director, they will pick you up and put you right back. Then you
yeah.
can play some more.
It's trust.
It's a great feeling. It's the only way, I
I
think.
think it's just maybe because it's an investigation story with Poacher.
Now you sound terrible.
Suddenly you're doing a scene where you're truly shocked at a piece of information and you react to it, and Richie's like, this already, don't be stupid. So, right. So right, that's
You're on a
India.
minute by
John
minute
Nash
narrative.
moment.
Yeah. So we discovered this earlier,
I also wanted to ask all of you a bit of an industry question. It has been a very strange year for the industry, specifically for streaming. You hear all kinds of weird, scary things of sort of contractions and platforms not commissioning shows and shows getting cancelled, and sort of writers and actors. And I spoke to Jim Sarb earlier this year, and he told me that every second actor and storyteller, filmmaker you talk to, is just waiting for the dust to settle and things to go back to normal. So I wanted to ask all of you, and I'm very protective of the streaming space. Like I said, it leads to such fine talent. So are any of you feeling that pinch? And does it concern you at all?
I think it should concern all of us to some extent. Yes, things have changed and we can see those changes happening like in front of our eyes, but I guess as an actor, you're always vying to find your own space, you know. So it's fine. I mean, it's happened. It can happen off the OTT platform. It can happen on an OTT platform. And I think that's what's happening to us. We're in sort of a metamorphosis phase right now. So I think we all just need to hang in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not signed anything after Heeramandi. But I'm like, okay, maybe it's some kind of recalibration that's
like
happening.
the difference I'm seeing is like earlier what used to come was a very concrete plan and this is what it is, this is what we're making, let's go, ready to begin. Right now it's like your people are coming in from different places and saying, okay, this is what I have, let's put this together, let's go to this person, then let's go to this platform. Nothing is like concrete. Is the only difference that I'm seeing right now. So yeah, I guess it's a phase, and I think it will definitely settle. No, it has to.
Yeah, it has to.
Can't function like that. I mean, any industry
We hope.
cannot function as a hawe mein. So I feel it will definitely settle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the theaters and the studios, right? Like there's this big churning happening. Once that I think settles up, because people need to go to the theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, please,
I think
that's
also
really
a lot
important.
of, like, sometimes there's misuse of what it is that you're being given, platforms, etc., and I don't know how to say this nicely, but sometimes when that happens, it causes a big imbalance because people stop trusting the processes and whatever it is that is being sanctioned, etc., etc. So I think it's also a lot about personal responsibility in various spheres, and I hope that it does happen because we all want to do exciting work.
Yeah.
But you know, theatrical is a whole other sort of circus. I mean, a lot of the stories you hear is very much for streaming. It is, you know, there's a platforms. It's where there's platforms going out of business. You know, shows getting cancelled last minute, and that's the one that sort of really concerns you as well.
Yeah, but it goes hand in hand, right? Like one feeds the other or takes out the other. Like it's I don't know. So it has to. We have to find that balance.
And
And the finance model, it's kind of shaky for both sides. Eventually,
like different things being tried out at all points. I think I actively started working in films only around 2018-19, maybe. My first film released in 15. So almost, 2 or 3 years after I was actively doing films, COVID happened. So for me, it's just been like one phase of transition after the other. I've perpetually been waiting for the dust to settle. Just like, okay, so this is the status quo, this is how things are going to be, and move on. But then I think I've come to a point where I'm realizing we're always going to be adapting to something or the other. And it's a market where a product is being made for the consumer, and the consumer's wishes and desires and likes and everything's going to keep changing. So we're going to have to keep changing, and we'll try out different formulas, put different things together, like you said. And some people crack it, and then we'll go after that.
But I also feel as creative people, nobody can keep you down, especially when your intention is to create and your intention is to be an artist. You are just that. How can anybody take that away from you? So yes, times are difficult, but I think artists and people who really have that intention to, create cinema, to, create legacies, to really love the art form, I think we kind of just we
art
keep
always finds a
evolving
way.
with it,
Art always
right?
finds a way.
But is it ever exhausting as an actor that you want to care about characters and scripts, but now you have to become an expert on the economics of the business?
That's the most frustrating.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my God, I just want to be on set and have a good time and do
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
job.
Social media now.
Now you have Instagram. I don't want to have to think about PR
I don't want to think of anything else. Like, my favorite thing about being an actor is just being an actor. I hate everything that is attached to it. Literally everything. If it was up to me, I would just wake up, go to set, and come back home. That's it. But there's so much that you have to do, and I feel sometimes that can dilute from what you're trying to do for yourself and trying to achieve for yourself and what you're trying to be. So yeah, it is tough, but that's life.
You've got to adapt.
Yeah.
But it's true, like you're in Wonderland, and then you keep getting picked out from there and put into reality check, and you're like, no, I don't want to adult. Put me back in Wonderland, please.
Like for everyone else, it's like
let me play.
For everyone else, it's like adding to your persona, or it's called projection, or whatever it may be. But I really, within my heart, I feel it just takes away from what I'm trying to do. So it's a big conundrum. Like, you don't know what to do, but you're just flowing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, speaking of sort of social media, PR positioning and all that fun stuff, you've had this breakout year. I'm curious to know, what's the worst piece of advice somebody's given you from in that whole minefield?
Don't we have long
So many. How long do we have?
This is gonna be fast.
So I have been around for 8 years. In Jan, I complete 8 years. I started with a web series, which didn't, obviously at that time web shows weren't a thing, but it was a beautiful web series with Viacom, and Ashrama Chibber directed it, and people still talk about it, people who've seen it. And I then went on to TV, and then I then went on to a little bit of reality. I then went on to movies, and I'm now in streaming again. So the first time I ever entered the industry, I was like, that's it, right? Now nobody's going to write anything else for you, because that first show was written for you, like for a girl like you. So I was like, okay. And within 3 months, I got another show. And then people were like, oh, now you won't be able to do TV is all you can do now. Now you want to do movies. I did a movie. Oh, reality and all you want to do. I did reality. Oh, you can dance. I did Jhalak.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
They know.
Oh, there are always
There
people.
are always people.
There are
But
always
there
There's
are
always
there are
people.
always
Then the
there.
worst advice is always, I think when you lose weight, only then you look better. I said, why, there's some problem right now. I said, no, but you look better. I said, okay, even you. So I have never in my life thought of myself lesser than anybody. I am the most confident person in any room I walk into, and I've always been like that.
Amazing.
Actor, non-actor, I don't care if there's a person standing in a bikini beside me, a Victoria's Secret model, I will still feel hotter than her at all times. I have no problem with me. People are the ones, you're looking little, this thing, beta, you put on, I'm like, auntie, you feed me food, I'll put on more, I have no problem. But yeah, so there's always been that if you can achieve more if you lose weight. But I am sure
Even when you lose weight, they tell you
they tell you
lose
to,
more
because
weight.
it's not enough. I know so
It's
many
a
people.
never-ending-
Yeah, I know so many
There's
people
no way.
Yeah,
who
there's
are
no way out.
gorgeous looking girls and skinny AF, and they are still struggling, and they're like, Anjali, patle hone se kuch nahi hota. Please keep doing what you're doing. I said, yeah, because I am enjoying the work that I'm doing, and I have learned that if you're patient with this work, you are the most. If you're just patient and you're just happy with what you're doing, we can't keep thinking about what all I've not done yet. I have to keep thinking about what I've already done, with nothing, how I've reached here and what I've achieved till now, where I'm sitting right now. I think I'm good.
That's amazing.
So I have to just be patient, and I know I will reach where I have to reach, because there's no other way. I have no plan B, no plan C. I'm going to reach where I'm going to reach. I know
love
that.
I love her.
I just saw a lot of rads in you. That was like a very out of body
Lads,
experience.
yeah.
So cool.
Roshan, I want to ask you, I want to talk to you about some of the narratives of Malayalam cinema this year. There are two big ones. One is just the box office success. These are such phenomenal films. Avesham, Manyamal Boys, and the fact that, the storm they've had. And it's so wonderful when you see the money go to the films that deserve it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you about the other narrative as well, which is the Hema Committee report. When something like that happens, there are so many opinions that just sort of come out. There's obviously the tragedy of everything that's come to light. There is a sense of hope of maybe this can lead to change. And everyone just seems to have their own take. So I wanted to ask you, what is the right takeaway from everything that has happened?
Oh, I'm in no position to tell you that objectively this is the right takeaway. All I can give you is my subjective opinion. And it's all of those things that you said. See, there's already so much noise around it, so many opinions that have already come out, that everything's being diluted. But the absolute core of the issue right now is, or rather, I think the most beneficial thing that's come out of this whole thing so far is that conditions on set are beginning to improve. There are people who are now wary. There are people who will now think twice before saying or doing something that they would otherwise so freely have. There is there are some people, at least, some sets at least, which are putting active thought into, okay, we have these many women on set today, we need to have a washroom facility for them available.
Bare basics.
Yeah, at the absolute bare minimum, which is being thought about. And at the same time, we also see, I've personally spoken to people who said, oh, you know what, let's move away from employing a lot of female crew members because, Hema Committee and everything is just too stressful. There's all of this happening. So I think to stay sane, and if you wish to stay positive, it's very important to just look at, okay, these are the good things that are coming out of it. And for these bare, absolute, basic changes to happen, all of this needed to happen at some point or the other. And yes, we are paying a price for it. Yes, this movement is great. At the same time, there are a lot of genuine issues being brought up, and at the same time, there might be some people who would be, say, wrongly accused, and some people who would vilify the movement itself, and that causes a huge credibility issue with everything.
Some people just want gossip. They're just desperate to find out which started.
Exactly. So there's all of that happening. I think at the end of the day, it's like when you go onto YouTube, you know, and like you see all of these videos in a particular category, you have to decide which one to click on. Then the algorithm sort of like pushes you more and more in that direction. So you've to basically just got to focus on what do you want to see out of it, and do you think all of this is worth this? If yes, then align, you know, and then like put your opinions there, put your energy there, and try to see how you can be supportive or how you can make a difference in that. If not, then you do what you think is the most correct thing, or like you said, objectively like the right, you know, outcome of it. So there's been a lot of like looking in and asking ourselves and trying to you know, I've been talking to all of my friends, everyone who I think is sensible and, you know, works in Malayalam, who I can think of as a friend. It's like, so what is your take on it? Do you think, you know, a lot of women, how this has changed work for them and experience on set for them? So all of that is synthesized into this opinion I have right now. Might be completely different for someone else.
But at least, you know, the important conversations are being had there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the rest of you, how naive is it for us to hope and assume that a report like that can ever be commissioned for the Hindi film industry?
Well, I don't know.
We live in hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, those are conversations that you would hope happen across every
Yeah,
film industry.
yes.
They're very, very important.
You know, we don't have good union systems. I mean, not to diss our existing ones, but only because I think the trickle down effect is, and this is obviously not just about this conversation, but also deep diving into the world of, let's say, the technicians, world of, let's say, the people behind the scenes. There's no security there, right? There's just no rules, nothing. हम awards में भी उनको थोड़ा पीछे कर देते हैं ना, पहले सब sus. I remember when we were shooting Girls Will Be Girls, it was an all-girl crew and we were very proud of it. And at one point we realized, in fact, Tanya Negi, our co-producer actually, she came up with this idea because we realized there were no gaffers, women gaffers. So there's one in India. I think her family has been in gaffing light. So she said, why don't we start a program? So we actually got a program approved from the Berlin Film Festival, Berlinale, and they approved it. We named it the Undercurrent Program. We hired 12 women from all over the country, 2 from tribal areas. And Light and Light was really, really generous, Irfan Bhai, and he gave us his studio. And we called like all these cool people, like filmmakers and cinematographers, and they did like proper workshops. And these guys are working.
So cool.
Wow.
They're actually like the pyramid has started, and of course we're hoping to do season 2. But like, why I'm connecting is because there's a need to put this in the system somewhere, like small seeds of,
Where
you
can
know,
the change start?
yeah, and I think it's possible. I mean, the best moment of last year was on my Mirzapur set. I saw one of the girls working. Like randomly, I was like, "Oh, yaar, tu yahan hai?" Like, "Haan." You know, and
That's awesome.
Wow.
so just the idea that वो लड़की उठा नहीं सकती है, लाइट का सामान नहीं,
Yeah.
bullshit. That is not totally wrong. So you know, once you break that barrier, then they learned everything, and all of them are working. I mean, touch wood, in different sets. 2 of them were on our set, girls' ka set. But I think anything is possible if there's a will and it doesn't have to be a big huddle. You know, we can try.
It's surprising what you can do if people give a shit.
Yeah. So even the union system, I'm not saying the unions are bad, but maybe they can be structured a different way. You know, I mean, we suffered this, like, why am I saying we? People there in the English America side suffered the same thing. The strikes happened, the writer strike happened, the SAG strikes happened.
Yeah.
It was for a reason. And the trickle effect of that will be felt here.
Yeah.
हमने नहीं किया है अभी, but you know, these things matter. It's world cinema, and we are part of it. So
We remain hopeful.
yeah, hopeful. Yeah.
I will end on a lighter note. What is the one kind of role that you guys are tired of being offered?
You're really asking me that question?
Very much so, yes.
I'll start. Because heroine's best friend, hero's sister. Yeah, that's it. Don't want to
Get a
do
lot of
that
those.
anymore. Yeah, a lot of those. So yeah, in web, I'm doing the parts that I want to do. In films, there's a long way to go. Because web, you know what's coming, and it's all good things that are coming. And
That's
in
your
film,
Netflix show, Dabba
my
Cartel, which
Netflix
looks
show,
excellent.
Yeah. But in films, we are not there yet. So I hope that changes too.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
What about the rest of you? What are we tired of?
Who wants to go next?
I've not had like one particular thing that's kept coming back to me, but immediately after a film is noticed or a project is successful, then you get sort of like
More of the
replicas of that. So after Darlings, there was a season of romancing an elder woman. It just kept coming, and I was like, guys.
Do I have a quality?
Yeah. I did not even think that was going to be a possible stereotype that.
Romance of the elderly.
Why would you mind it though?
In my head, it was something different.
Yeah, that's about it. You said that. I didn't.
Now you might get one of those as well.
Yeah.
No.
Oh God.
What about Sonakshi? Aditi, what about you guys?
Me, I think after my first film, I was only offered the Gaon Ki Gori, quintessential Bollywood heroine, dancing and singing. But I mean, it was fun while I did it. But then I also reached a point where I said, okay, no, I have to start doing things that are different.
And you very much broke.
And I think from then I've only chosen like north, south, east, west, like very different characters. So I'm in a good space right now. I wouldn't change a thing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Aditi.
I think for me, more than the roles that I'm offered, the perception is what I want to throttle people now.
It's a genuine rage.
Because I'm like, okay, so this is, oh, she's so fragile and vulnerable and whatever, she'll break. I'm like, I'll save you in a storm, you idiot. But
You need a Mirzapur. You need a
but I will say this, that I embrace the fragility, the vulnerability, all of it, because I think that for me that is one of the strongest qualities that a human being can have, to look into somebody's eyes and show them your vulnerabilities. I think is one of the most gutsy things that you can do. So I don't shy away from that. And I also believe that any character that you get, their core may be that they might look a certain way, but their lives are diversely different, and the choices they make are diversely different, and that's what creates all the differences, nuances in the girls that you play, in the heroines that you play. And heroines at the end of the day are not like Mani sir said this, and he always says this, they're not just heroines, they are flesh and blood human beings, and they have purpose and they have agency, and you can't take love and vulnerability away from that, and that is one of the most beautiful qualities in a human being. So I embrace it, and I say that if somebody is not able to see it, it's their myopia, not mine, because I love it, and I think that there is something to be said about casting, and within that I'll play with it as much as I can and work with incredible directors who will bring out those various nuances, and even in Heeramandi for that matter, Bibhujan is seemingly, as you said, this sort of vulnerable creature, but there are different kinds of power. You don't have to pick up a knife and, gallify and whatever. That is not the only way of showing power and strength. There are different kinds of strength, as there are different kinds of unique beauties, as there are different kinds of all of the above, So it's about the nuances, and also like wanting to sort of surrender to those nuances.
Yeah, but that's what I loved about that character, especially with your scenes with the British officers. Everyone assumes they have power over you, but they don't realize that actually you have power over them. And I love how it flipped that. Ali, last word to you. A kind of role you're tired of getting offered.
I mean, it's like, that's why we probably have PR machineries, right? You gotta changing stuff. I'm sure we all get. It's the season, no? Like what works. Fukre ke baad, everybody wanted me to play a musician. And
A musician.
Iske baad, of course, all the violent stuff keeps coming. So, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I think you've done a good job of constantly breaking that perception to show yourself.
I try. We all try. Yeah, but I think, like you said, I think casting is where the game will change, and I think we have some wonderful casting directors coming out now, and I'm just really excited to even watch new shows that are coming out, like Kora, so many. The Har, man, my God.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah,
like,
we watched
so
Kora
good.
last night. Like I finished it. I was so
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah.
amazing,
We
excellent.
should champion more casting directors, because I think they are we need to start rooting for them.
Yeah.
And
That's
I will
why-
end on a more positive casting note. What is the kind of role you're desperate to be offered that you haven't had a chance to do yet? Is there a kind of role or
I
character?
want to be a serial killer.
What?
Yeah.
So the other side of the
Yeah, the other side. I don't know why. I just really want to play like an all-out
Oh
baddie.
man, I want to do animation.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Ah, so God. What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Be
that would
fun.
be amazing. I want to do like a Gone Girl and like a Mundram Pirai. Is that the is Sadma ka Sadma type of this thing or a Gone Girl? Both.
Wow.
Those are my.
Nice.
I mean,
very
that's
good.
heavy. Yeah.
I want to do like a proper like mass commercial film. I'd like a
Oh,
big,
dude.
all guns blaring, explosives, and 200 people. And, like,
dancing,
yeah. So,
Enough gentlemen.
Yeah. Just that.
The sensitive guy.
I really want to play like Devdas one day. Like a very Guru Dutt space, a very Devdas space. I want like barbad insan. But then I also want to be
Just
Chandni.
come. You can take over my life because that's what
You can just trade places
everybody
a couple
always
of these.
killing me.
I also want to be
torturing me.
Chandni. That's the other thing. I also want to be Ram Lakhan. I want to do all those things. But I really want to go into the Guru Dutt. I want to play Devdas.
But-
Somehow. Lady Devdas somehow.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
There's
it.
also
I
this like
really
one
want to
thing, while we were clicking the picture earlier, remember you said there was a show with all of us. I've also been thinking a lot about how multilingual projects have a lot of scope in, in a country like India especially. It was one of the most exciting things about Poacher also for me. So so I'm sitting here with all of you guys. Streaming platforms have done this to an extent. They've like sort of put everything on the
same page, yeah.
it's the same platform you're seeing it all on, the subtitles going.
Democratized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a country like India, there's so much scope for multilingual projects. And think about the kind of stories we'd be able to tell. Like, and I get to work with so many
world
more of you.
Yeah,
and-
right. I'm actually
All
thinking
world
now
cinema.
like this. The list is so long of what all we can do and
Yeah.
what all we want to do.
So I changed my answer to that.
So, what are you taking
Why
Malayalam
you don't
lessons
want
at
to do
some point?
Dinadinda?
I was starting to.
Went to second.
So you can also jump
I'm
on that.
supposed. I'm just because I'm a big fan of Malayalam cinema, and I think now nobody has a excuse to ignore it because of that reason. Because it's all there. It's a level playing field, right? Like you're a pause button away from rejection. So
It's amazing.
and some great cinema coming out. Yeah, fan.
Well, we will manifest all of those dream projects. And I'll just say that it might be a very uncertain year for the industry, but just as an audience, it's been so delightful to experience all of these stories. So thank you for the artistry, thank you for the performances, and looking forward to everything you guys have in store.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
guys.
Hey, this is Aditi Rao
Hey,
Hydari.
this is Roshan Mathew,
I'm Anjali Anand.
This is Sonakshi Sinha.
This is Ali Fazal. Please
Subscribe to the
Hollywood Reporter.
reporter.
Yeah.